The United States spends almost $100 billion every year on understanding the world through intelligence operations. Have you ever wondered what it's really like behind the scenes? Do you think you could handle it? My name is Nick, and I've completed over 10,000 hours of real-world intelligence operations. That's 416 days of relentless problem-solving, high-stakes missions, and life-or-death decisions. Today, I'll pull back the curtain and show you what it's really like to survive in the world of intelligence and provide an extra secret that is useful in any profession. Let me take you back to the world of around 2010. Less than a decade after 9/11, the United States was still very focused on combating and eliminating terrorists. I was responsible for building and understanding the patterns of life to help degrade and dismantle terrorist networks around the world. This involved understanding where people slept, where they ate, where they prayed, traveled, and whom they spent their time with. As we analyzed intelligence data through reports from various sources, we built out human networks and identified other potential threats along the way. An intelligence mission will test you mentally, physically, ethically at times. Imagine going 48 hours without sleep, working under the pressure that one mistake could have national consequences. Would you have what it takes? Oftentimes in intelligence, we work 24/7 shift work, switching nights to days on a monthly basis, operating on very little sleep, while simultaneously having to solve the complex challenges of dissecting and analyzing human behavior. There were nights when I wasn't sure I could keep going. The exhaustion would hit me so hard I'd question every move. Did I miss something? Did I make the right call? I even had coworkers that were involved in really bad car accidents because they fell asleep on their commute home. During these long, grueling shifts, I decided to split my meals into regular intervals so I had something to look forward to as the hours melted away. It was a survival strategy, pure and simple. The hardest part? It wasn't always the missions. It was the distance it created between me and the people I cared about. I missed birthdays, weddings, holidays. That's the cost. When you're in high-intensity intelligence operations, the people around you sacrifice too. In just a moment, I'll tell you about what you need to focus on to survive. But first, I want to illustrate another monumental survival challenge: staying sharp. At times, it can seem like nothing you do matters. It can appear that you are making very little progress on the mission or making very little impact on the world. But that's exactly when things change and when you need to be at your best, because the next thing you do may kick off a globally relevant intelligence or military operation. Intelligence can be grueling, tiring, and downright boring sometimes, and it isn't for the faint of heart. And it's definitely not for people that demand public recognition, because in intelligence operations, you won't be publicly recognized for what you do. You won't have a full-page article on the New York Times about you. Even if the news does report something you're involved with, you won't get credit, and it's almost always missing key details or completely false. I've been involved in operations where things went off without a hitch. We completed our mission, and we had an effect on precisely the intended target, as we planned. Yet the news, they reported casualties that obviously never occurred, or involvement of groups or people that had nothing to do with it at all. How do I know? Because I could see everything. I reviewed the information, and I would never, ever be involved in something that wasn't, in my eyes, completely justified to protect the United States and our citizens. The news simply doesn't have all the information, and unfortunately, you have to live with this false reporting because you can't exactly correct the record. Now, I know a lot of this doesn't sound very glamorous, like in the movies. The truth is, it simply isn't glamorous at all. But sometimes things can be so wild, no movie would ever think to script it that way. In the next 90 seconds, I'm going to reveal one of the biggest misconceptions about intelligence work that you've never heard. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about the environment. Intelligence operations take place in a secure compartmented information facility, a SCIF, to help safeguard our intelligence sources and methods. The SCIF is not exactly Chuck E. Cheese. In the SCIF, office lights are kept to a minimum to focus on operations, and all access is controlled with various locks and badged access. Speaking of, we love our lanyards. I've worked in many SCIFs, from bright, clean offices to some old, dungy, and downright ancient buildings that would give children nightmares. Because we operate in the dark 24/7, there were always a few surprises when we had the chance to flip on the lights. This environment creates its own sort of pressure and a push to remain focused. The constant vigilance wears on you. Even after I'd leave the skiff, my mind would still be there, replaying scenarios, wondering what I missed. Sometimes it feels like you can't shut it off. The skiff is a vault where secrets are kept, but the experiences stick with you. Typically, we have huge LED screens hung up on the walls to keep us all synchronized on the mission. There's usually rows and rows of desks with high-powered, multi-monitored workstations, and these workstations need to be really powerful enough to consume a lot of CPU and GPU resources to help us with our intelligence software. When you're crunching data from multiple sources like satellites, computer networks, and massive heaps of data from captured enemy materials, you need to have that extra power. And importantly, you can't bring your cell phone in. This one time I forgot my cell phone. It was in my pocket and it rang while I was sitting on the operations floor in the middle of everybody. We're talking about everybody focused on this mission, and I'm standing there and the phone rings. You're not supposed to have a phone and everybody knows it. So I was completely embarrassed by this and I had to turn my phone into security, explain what happened, and the next day they finally returned it to me. After I'm sure they ran some tests to ensure I wasn't some type of Russian spy or something like that. If you like this stuff and want to learn more about high-stakes intelligence operations, hit the subscribe button and let me know your thoughts in the comments. What I realized from these operations is you have to focus on what you can control. If you want to outsmart other human targets whom are very smart themselves, and they often know or at least have an intuition that they're likely being collected upon, you have to focus on yourself first. The food you eat, the exercise routine you keep. It all helps keep your brain operating at a high level. When you sleep better and eat better, you feel better, and it helps you operate in this high-intensity situation. Now, let me smash a misconception right now. In intelligence, we work in teams. Nobody goes it alone. It's a huge misconception that we work solely as individuals, solving national security priorities by ourselves in a cubicle at Langley. Sorry, Jack Ryan. Intelligence is a team sport. To survive in intelligence and maximize the value you can provide, you have to gain an understanding of your team, who they are, what they're good at, and what motivates them. In intelligence, you never know when something that seems insignificant will become very significant later on, and you are going to rely on your team to help put together the puzzle. Intelligence is a team sport. This is especially true when the mission is nationally vital. You need to be thorough and rely on intense analytical standards so you can trust but verify every detail you're reporting up the chain. You have to be quick, but you have to also make sure you're analyzing that detail to an extra level so you can be confident in the answers you're providing. And you have to make peace with the weight of your decisions. In this field, hesitation can cost lives. Oftentimes, I worked on missions that would go directly into the president's daily brief, so we needed to ensure POTUS had the latest, most accurate and detailed information possible, so that he could work with other national security leaders to make great decisions for our country. This means our intelligence has to live up to scrutiny. It has to be verifiable from multiple sources, and it must involve different analytic perspectives from geoint, sigint, humint, OSINT, or other intelligence disciplines. If you want to be a great analyst, you'll master your discipline and gain a solid understanding of the capabilities of the others, so you know when to leverage the right resources. To learn more about the other intelligence disciplines, subscribe or check out one of my videos mentioned in the description. The mission, the environment, the people, they all create an experience that I will forever treasure. There's another secret I would like to reveal about how I survived and thrived in intelligence operations. It comes down to one word: ownership. I survived because I decided early on that I wanted to be the absolute best intelligence analyst that I could be. I owned every decision I made, admitted my mistakes, and I didn't stick too firmly to things I thought I knew, but only from my own perspective. I let the details emerge, and I put every effort into what I could do better at my job than I did the day before. When you're doing something as important as intelligence, you owe it to yourself to think about the role you have in the world and the impact that it has.